All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is now 2 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Um, Today, we're going to talk about some activities and resources you can use for digital learning. For those of you who are just joining us today, I am Haley Huberty. I'm the Professional Development Manager at Creative Learning Systems. Obviously, I'm not there right now. Most of the people in our office are working remotely, but we're continuing to work, just like you guys. So Creative Learning Systems is a company that designs individualized project-based learning spaces. So it's everything from the furniture, technology, the kits and resources that students use, all of the training that the teacher receives. So we're kind of a one-stop shop. But we really want to help you guys connect with some really cool tools that you can use to enhance the learning experiences you're setting up digitally with your students. If you guys have questions, you can raise your hand, and then when I see that, I'll allow you to then unmute yourself. You can also send any questions through the chat. We'll be keeping an eye on that. So if you have any questions throughout, I'll answer them as I see them come up. So to start, I want to talk about some tools that you can use to help create content. Now that you're not going to be in your classroom with your students and with the resources that you usually use to teach lessons, you might have to be a little creative, and making engaging content is going to be really important now that your students are one-on-one kind of in their space, completing the activities that you've assigned. So one tool that you can use is called Snagit, and it's by a company called TechSmith. It's super easy. It allows you to take screenshots and screen captures of your screen. And it's really nice because it's super simple to edit your videos. You just grab the clip you want and you save it. And when you're doing like screenshots, you can also add text labels. You can add shapes on top, arrows. So it's really nice to do diagrams as well that you might be sharing out to your students. Right now, TechSmith is offering this tool for free. It's usually for purchase, but I linked it on here. So when I send this out, you'll see there's a link for all of these tools on where you can get access to this. ThingLink is another website. This one's a website, and it's really cool because you can take pictures and images, and you can add tags, you can add additional images and videos as like little comments. I will show you exactly what that looks like in just a second. But it makes really cool interactive media. And let me move some things out of the way. All right, so ThingLink. Here we go. So here are the standard ThingLink samples that they provide. But this one is an image, and they've just added a simple tag here that has text. The really cool thing too is that you can have it read it to the students as they're viewing it. So for your students who are younger and who are still developing their independence in reading, that can be really helpful. It's also cool because you can do that to videos as well. So if you add a video or you find a video that you then want to share, as the video plays, I'm going to mute it, you'll come to different places where there's more information. This has linked a slideshow that students can then go through. So it makes real interactive media to share with them, and to present the information in a slightly different way. Another tool that you might use, get back to our presentation, is Explain Everything. And I used to use Explain Everything all the time with my students because I was doing flipped classroom, and so I would have instructional videos that they could use. And it was really great because it's like a whiteboard app. So it was really helpful for showing them how to solve math problems. You can upload text, like a picture of text, and then annotate it. So and record it, and your voice is in there. They have a free 30-day trial right now, and then it's purchased beyond that. That might help you at least get through the next month. And then if it's a really helpful tool, if you want to purchase it, then you can go ahead and do that. Edpuzzle is another site. That one is free, and it allows you to set up interactive videos. So you can upload content or create a video, and then you can add different checkpoints where students have to answer questions. You know, and that could be just a quick reflection, but you can record those comments. It'll, you know, pull it all together. But the thing about that is that students can't move beyond until they stop and answer that question. So it's a good way to kind of hold them accountable for stopping and thinking about whatever topic or aspect you want them to reflect on. HyperDocs, if you're not familiar with HyperDocs, they're all-in-one digital lessons. They're typically in some kind of document, usually Google Docs, because a lot of schools are Google schools now. But I'm gonna show you one of my Google Docs that I created. So here's one that sets up, like, there's different sections to it. This first section kind of sets the stage for, gives them the context. There's linked resources. There's places for them to write down information and kind of step-by-step how to proceed through as they go through the different steps of the project. So a HyperDoc really is just a place where you're guiding them through the lesson a little bit. It's totally up to you how much scaffolding and information you want to provide, but it's really nice to be able to link resources in there and then share this one document out. And that's, you know, kind of where the students all come back to for recording all of their work and also accessing the resources. In addition to the one I just showed you on here, there's also the bigger link on this bigger box has a ton of different templates. There are so many out there that you can use to structure your lessons. So check them out. You may find one that's a good starting place and has a nice structure that you know, works well with the structures of your lessons that you usually teach. So I'm also going to talk about some tools for collaboration, because now that your students are at home learning, it's still important to give them some opportunities to work with each other. And that'll also help you out, because then they can help answer each other's questions, you know, and work in teams. Flipgrid is a great resource. It's also a really good one just to get them re-engaged with each other, to give them that social interaction. It's a free site. You set up these grids with prompts at the top, and then students go in and they post a video answering it. And it's cool because the kids can then respond to each other with videos. You know, they can like the videos depending on how you set it up. And it's really fun for the kids to get to see each other, you know, even though they're not in the classroom at that moment, see how each other is doing and respond that way. And it's also nice, a good way just to kind of give feedback in that face-to-face space, even though you are now in the digital space. One thing to note is that you can set it up so they have to log in with either, I think, a Microsoft or Google address. So if you're a Google school, that's really nice because it keeps the grid private so that their videos aren't out there to the public. Book Creator is more of an elementary resource for kids to create books. If you haven't used it, it's pretty simple. They have pages, they can add text, pictures, all sorts of stuff to create a book. It could be a really cool project for them to do. Right now, they're offering a free upgrade. So usually the basic Book Creator, you can't collaborate, but now with the free upgrade, you're able to collaborate. So I've linked the page to request that upgrade there. And then students could work with each other on books related to, you know, a research project they're doing, to something they're now going to teach someone else to do. Lots of different ways that you could apply that resource. Of course, G Suite for Education, if that's something that you already have and you've been using, you know, you don't want to totally change platforms because that's going to be a lot of adjustment for everyone. But if G Suite is something that your kids are already used to, using, you know, sharing documents and collaborating that way is a really great thing to kind of reinforce and encourage as students are working on their projects. Yes, so I will be sending out, I've got a question about all of these resources. I will be sharing out these slides after the presentation. The webinar is over and everything is linked on here. So when you open up the presentation, you'll be able to click on these links and it'll take you straight to the resources. Padlet is what I've mentioned in some of my previous webinars. It's a really versatile tool. It kind of acts like a corkboard where students can post ideas, questions, they can post media, and you can also structure it in a lot of different ways. I've set up one that functions like a chat room. And this is something that you could set up for groups of students, or you could set up for your whole class. But all you have to do is share either the link to the Padlet or the QR code, and then students can access it. So this one, students just type a comment and they can talk to each other. So it's really like a just chat feed. It would be great, you know, if you are giving a recorded presentation and you want students to comment as you go along, or just to set up a chat for groups to work together and ask questions. And I noticed I've got a hand raised maybe. Nope, okay. So Padlet is really cool. You can also modify the structure of it. 1 second, let me see where. Change format. So you can set it up like a wall where students are just posting all over and you can move things around however you want. You can also set up a Padlet itself where there's set columns. So that allows you, you know, to set up a column like questions. You could add one that's resources, just a place for students to add content, for you to add content, just an interactive kind of space for you guys to communicate. And so it's super versatile. There's a lot of different ways you can structure it and use it. So that's a really great tool for both collaboration, but also for, you know, communicating with your students. And then the last one I have on this list is TechSmith Video Review. So it's by that same company, TechSmith. They're also offering this one for free right now. You can upload either recorded presentations or videos, and then students can comment, discuss, and annotate as they watch it. And it's collaborative, so it'll kind of compile together. Definitely check that one out, investigate it a little bit more. I haven't personally used this one. I've used Snagit and Camtasia before, and they're awesome. So I'm sure this one works, you know, just as well. So for communication, you definitely want to keep that up with your students. Zoom is actually what I'm using right now to hold this presentation. Really easy to use to get students on here. You can do webinars where you present a topic, kind of teach a lesson and have students call in. It's also a good resource to have like office hours. You know, if you have your Zoom open for an hour every day and students can just join in when they have questions and then leave when their questions are answered or they're ready to get back to work. And it's free right now, so that's always great. Seesaw is really good for elementary and primary, especially primary. Kind of like Google Classroom, but a little bit easier for them to use, for the primary students to use. If it's something you've dabbled with, it's a great tool to kind of expand in the digital space. You can create and assign activities. You can add videos explaining instructions. It's really great tool. And because a lot of parents use it, then they can help their students with completing those activities and making sure they know what they need to accomplish throughout the day or the week. Kaizena is a Chrome extension that I shared earlier this week, and it allows you to add audio and text feedback. So in Google Docs, you know, you can always add text comments. but it allows you to add audio comments, which kind of just gives it that different dynamic aspect, and the kids feel a little bit more connected to you. And again, it's a Chrome extension add-on. It works with Google Docs. It also works with Google Slides, but I think you have to pay for that portion. So the Google Docs part is free. Google Meet is something I actually didn't know existed, but one of our facilitators told me a little bit about it. It's kind of like Zoom and any video conference, but it's Google's version. So it works with G Suite for Education. And you can also not have kids join, but record it and then have kind of your presentation that way. So if you don't want to use, Snagit or another screen capture to record any lessons or presentations, you could always do it with Google Meet. Remind 101 is an app, and it's just like texting, except kids don't get your personal cell number. So you can send out messages, reminders, information to students and families. And because it's just like texting, it's really easy for especially your older kids to use. And if they're familiar with that way of getting a hold of other people, their friends, they're likely to reach out to you pretty quickly just to say, hey, what page again am I supposed to be reading? So it's a really easy format. I used it in college and it was great for little reminders and to ask questions in between classes and when I wasn't seeing my professors face to face. There are also tons of activities out there to support digital learning. And a lot of companies are now sharing more and sharing some that used to be paid for and now are free access. We have 8 weeks of digital curriculum that you probably have already gotten some information about. And I've talked about in my other webinars. And it's student-directed project-based learning, and it uses all digital resources. Everything from code.org to Tinkercad to online presentation tools, but it's really designed for students to work through it independently and to really develop their problem-solving skills along with incorporating some content. But there's all of these out there. Ozobot is a resource that we use in our labs, and they have a programming app website that you could send your students to if they want to practice programming. Code.org has tons of resources. They have set up a page specifically for digital learning resources. So that's what is linked here. And there's all sorts of stuff there for all grade levels. Matrix. So we, our middle school and high school students engage in learning about pneumatics. And so Matrix is the company that provides our pneumatics equipment, and they're offering free flow code. So it's micro programming. So if you have computer science students who want to access a programming tool, this is one that you could use. Autodesk provides some of their tools for teachers for free. So that's anything from like animation to 3D design. They have a ton of resources. Adobe Creative Cloud, that's one that if you have Creative Cloud at your school, they will allow you to request it for home access. So if that's something that your school provides and your kids haven't been able to use because they're now at home, you can request them to get them access. So that's linked there. But it does require Creative Cloud license already, a school or district license. So keep that in mind as you look at that one. There's a bunch of other ones over here too. Mystery Science has science lessons. Discovery EDU has all sorts of stuff. They've set up a channel all about how to talk to students about the coronavirus. So they have resources there for that. Scholastic has some lessons. Mo Willems is doing some lunch doodles, so showing kids how to doodle. So that can be a really fun art connection. And then Adobe also has some fun project ideas that you could access. And they have webinars as well if you want to learn about any of their tools. We're at 2:20. I know I shared a lot of information. I want to open it up to you guys to ask questions, but also to share any resources that you have found helpful and want to share with everybody else. So you can add it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and then you'll be able to unmute yourself. Any other resources you guys have found so far or heard of? So Weebly is a website creation website. So it allows kids to create websites, or you could create a website for students to access. I would say that if you're creating a website for students to get resources and to see assignments, then it can totally be helpful. It's different than things like Schoology and Google Classroom because you can't really assign things through Weebly. So that's something to keep in mind. Ooh, Loom. I've never heard of Loom. Jennifer, would you like to share a little bit about that? Or if you want to send it in the text, the chat, that's fine too. But that's one that's new to me. Okay. Yeah, Nearpod. Nearpod is great for like interactive presentations. I've heard Pear Deck is pretty similar to that. So that would also be one to check out if you're interested in those interactive presentations. Thank you guys so much for sharing these resources. Let's see. Yep, SketchUp for Schools. Yeah, that's a 3D design one. Can kind of feed into architecture, so that's a free resource. Awesome, Google Hangouts. Yeah, that's so easy. And if it's already part of the tools that you use. Okay, EduCreations. Awesome, Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing these. Some of these are new to me, so I'll have to check these out as well. Sounds great. Yeah, and if you guys find any that are really helpful and worth sharing out, let me know, and I'm happy to share it with everybody. Add it to my presentation. I'll add a slide at the end of this with some of those recommendations so that you can all see those from the others who are joining us. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We have another webinar on Monday. That's the last one planned so far. We may add some more depending on what you guys need. That's really going to be adapting to digital learning. So what challenges you guys are facing, coming up with some solutions, tips and strategies you can use. So it's going to be a little bit more of a forum, just talking about how you're adjusting to this new type of learning environment. If you'd like to gain access to our digital curriculum, we call it our Launchpad. You can email support@clsonline.com. I've also linked a form there that you can use to request access. And when you close your Zoom window, it will take you to our page that has some information about our curriculum and where you can fill it out to request access. Our support team will then set you up with a login, some information to help you get started, and a link to the resources. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can email support@clsonline.com and they'll route it to us to help you. All right, have an awesome day.